Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Ask Me session of the HDSC internship for 2022 cohort, brought to you by Hamley. My name is Ajulo Christian, and I'm the Assistant Program Coordinator and Data Scientist at Hamley. I'm joining you from the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and I'll be your host for this session. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. We have lots of participants already. Okay, I know we might be having lots of questions for the internship. Some might be confusing, but some already know how it's run. Okay, before I dive into the question and answer session, because this session is going to be a very interactive session. Okay, sessions Mondays and Fridays occasionally. So whenever we have it, it will be communicated to us before time. So let me just break that down. Okay, before I start giving you time to ask your questions or blockouts or what's not, I'm going to be answering some frequently asked questions, such as what is relating to the quiz, the duration of the quiz, how the tag along codes and all that. Then you might be confused on how to go around your GitHub and all that. Clear all that. So just break down the rule for this session. If you have questions, just signify by using the hand emoji. Using the hand emoji, and I'll give you time to ask your question. And or if you're in English or you don't feel like you want to talk, you can always drop your questions in the chat and I'll read it out and answer. Okay. If you just have a question, use the hand emoji. I'll ask you to unmute. Or you drop it in the chat box and continue from there. Okay, before anyone asks a question, let me just answer this question. About the stage A, it runs for 14 days, like we already know. It's going to round off on 22nd of November. And there's a quiz attached to it, also a quiz and tag along project. Yeah. The quiz runs for 60 minutes, if you don't know yet, for 60 minutes. And you can pause the timer, because I've seen some people say they save their answers, but times when you can't pause it, you can only save your the questions you've already answered. You can't pause it, you can't come back. It's only one time. You can't go back and redo it. You can only do it once. So that's for that. Then tag along projects. In the quiz, there are some questions you're supposed to answer using the provided data set, and of which you have to write codes for it. And the codes, you do your code in your Jupyter notebook or your Colab. So whichever way you want to do it, you can do about that. Then the instructions are already in a platform. By now, you know all of them. There are some articles to guide you on how you go about it. So again, I've answered that particular question. Can everybody hear me? Okay, let me mute. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Someone said yes. All right. So moving on, about the tag-along codes and quiz, as I've already explained. Then another aspect that I've seen people question is about the quiz and the certificates. Okay, for different stages, for different stages in the course, you need to score 60% or higher to get a particular certificate for that particular course. Mind you, it's just a certificate for that particular course in that stage. You have a certificate if you score 60% or higher in that quiz. Then your total deliverables, as towards the end of the internship, you have to have 60% overall cumulative from stage A to stage F. That's including your premium projects, your capstone projects, your quiz, attendance to webinars, as the compulsory webinars, your tag along codes, and all. Adding up everything cumulatively gives you, once you score 60% or higher, you get a Harmony Fellows certificate. Okay, I guess I've answered. Okay, let me go. There are some questions in the chat. I'll just read it up. This session is going to last for about an hour or so. So that's what we're going to cover for today. Okay, there's a question is from Aziz. He's saying, is there a job guarantee after the completion of this internship? Okay, if you attended the onboarding webinar, we've already answered this particular question, but I'll answer again. There are benefits, and it's already in your handbook, so you should know by now. If you go through the handbook, there are benefits attached to being a Harmony Fellow. Yeah, you'll be added to our network whereby we share available jobs or internship or whatnot. And also, sometimes we do interview top interns if there are available positions in Harmony AI Labs or in Harmony organization. So those are the benefits. And other benefits, if you read your handbook, you know the benefits of completing the Harmony internship, thereby getting your fellows certificates. So I guess I've answered that question. Any other person have a question, you can signify by using the hand emoji, and I'll ask you to unmute. Or if you can't, you can drop your question in the chat. Okay, there's another question. Say, how does Harmony select the best for a particular stage? If you do it in your quiz, for example, stage A, you do it in your quiz, you do it in your tag along codes as a project, you definitely know the highest end. Would publish the scores and also the top interns for that particular stage. That's how I know to do it. And there's also another question from Gupta. He said, what if I failed to score 60% in stage A? Okay, if you failed probably in your quiz, you scored less than 60%. For that particular course in that stage, you will have a certificate on the platform, because on the platform, if you are done with your quiz and you score 60% or higher, the platform will generate a certificate for you for that course. But you can still continue the internship because it's a cumulative score of all your deliverables at the end of stage F, which is the capstone project. So if you didn't score up to 60% in your quiz and probably in your tag along code after when the results are out, you can buckle up and do well in subsequent stages and make sure you score a cumulative total of 60%. So even if you didn't score 60% your stage A, you can try to do well in other stages so that you have a cumulative score of 60% or higher. All right. I guess I've answered the question. Rohit Gupta. There's another question. Says, if it happens that one doesn't have 60%, will that be the end? I guess I've answered that just now. It is not the end, because towards the end of the internship, it's a cumulative score. You have a cumulative score from stage A to stage F, which is the capstone project. So even if you scored less than 60% in a particular stage, you can still continue. But in the course on the platform, if you score less than 6%, you will have a certificate for that particular course. Because with each course in the platform, if you score 6% or higher, you have a certificate for that course, not the internship, just for that course. So these are added benefits, added packages you have with Harmony. At the end of the internship, all the deliverables, which is the quiz of each stage, the tag along project of each stage, that is in some tracks, they do some tag along projects, some don't. So if you are among those that do in each stage, your webinar attendance, you must attend the compulsory important webinars, then your premier projects and the capstone projects. If you participated in premier projects, you move further to capstone projects. If you don't participate in the premier projects, you won't be moving on through the internship. So these are the important deliverables for the internship. Then at the end of everything, if you score a cumulative of 60% or higher, you get your Harmony Fellow certificate. If you scored less, you won't. And there are some cases where some persons have scored 60% or higher, but they missed some particular deliverables. Probably in a particular stage, they didn't do the quiz, or they didn't attend the webinar, or you didn't submit your tag along codes. That can affect you getting your certificate. So each particular stage, all deliverables are very, very important. So it's important you complete all the requirements to get your certificate at the end. So I guess I've answered that question. Any other question? Okay, talking about the webinars, we do have different webinars during the course of the internship, that's the 4 months. The information will be passed on the webinar sessions that are important. Like for these Ask Me sessions or the live coding sessions, which holds Mondays and Fridays of each week, they are not important webinars. So we'll always tell you about that, the ones that are important. And there's a question saying on how to take a quiz. On the Slack channel, okay, before I answer that, Slack channel is the number one, that's the primary form of communication with interns. You have to always be online on Slack. Check messages on the announcement channel or the other channels. We've already posted articles on how to take a quiz. Check the announcement channel. This is coming from Abinadan. Check the announcement channel on how to take a quiz, how to find your ID, how to take the course and everything, how to accept the invitation and all. These are already on the Slack channel. Go through the message there, you see the answer to the question. Okay. Is there another question? This is an interactive session. If you feel like, okay, you have a question, you can use the hand emoji. I'll ask you to unmute and you ask your question. If not, you can post it on the chat and I'll answer. All right. Any other question? Okay, before that, the duration for the quiz, let me say it again, it's 60 minutes. You cannot pause it. You can't pause the quiz. You can only save your questions. You can't pause it. Yeah. It does not, if you say you're trying to save it and you said you're saving your quiz and come back later, the timer is still on and it's just 60 minutes. If the time has elapsed, it will submit automatically. So that's for that. And also, in the time code, you need to submit a public GitHub repository. All the informations are already on the platform, how you create your GitHub account, create your repositories, then upload your Jupyter notebook. And mind you, whatever you're uploading, it must be your codes must have outputs. It's not a Python script, but a Jupyter notebook showing input and outputs, not just a Python script. Those the team in charge of grading would not grade that particular submission. So that's to answer about that. I've seen questions about that. Okay, there are some questions now. It says from Sam, say, how can one get a foot into data analysis or data science jobs within a company if only I've done this industry? I'm not seeing many jobs with entry-level position with less than 1 year. Okay, I feel this question is really related to our discussion so far. Okay, another one. Hope we provided with tutorial videos along the line of each lesson. Okay, notice in the platform, you only have text materials. Just like I said, you have text materials on the platform, no video materials. But subsequently, in each stage, like I said, Mondays and Fridays, we do hold Ask Me session or live coding sessions for different particular tracks, yes, for each stages. So just keep an eye always on the Slack channel, the communication, the information will pass to you, so you know particular track we're holding a coding session for. So it is on Mondays and Fridays, Ask Me session like this, or live coding sessions where we get to code along. So I guess that answers your question. See, where are the learning materials? Who's asking this question? You should go on Slack channel. We've answered this question before, since you're kind of new. But to answer that question, they're on the Harmony platform. So if you've gotten mails from us and you're active on the Slack channel, you should already have an answer to that. So I'm going to address on that. Another question says, short few lines. Okay, I've answered that question before. Like I said, the materials on the platform, they are text materials, they are not video materials, but we do hold coding sessions in each week for each particular stage. So if you notice, this stage A is for all tracks. As I've said, you should select your tracks. If you haven't selected your track, okay, check your mails. The format will be saying select your track. Important. Only those that selected their track, okay, this is, I mean, ladies hat. Only those that selected their tracks will be moved on to the next stage. So if you fail to select your track before the deadline, you'll be moving on to the next stage. So make sure you select your track before the deadline. Check your mails, you have information about those. So select your track. Then as you're moving on to stage B, you'll be split into different tracks: data storytelling, data science, data engineering / MLOps, and DevOps. And also on the Slack channel, you'll be put into different tracks on the Slack channel. So that's what that would be for stage B. That would be for stage B. You select it to different tracks, and you get to dive more into your particular track. So for now, stage A is for all tracks. So that's to answer that particular question. So any other question? If you feel like asking a question, use the hand emoji, and I'll ask you to unmute, or you drop the question in the chat. You drop the questions in the chat. Okay. There's another question here. Okay, say job posting on Harmony after completion are all available for locations all around the world. To answer that, whatever particular job postings are available will be shared to the Harmony Fellows exclusively, to just the Harmony Fellows. So those are the benefits of completing the internships. I've answered that question before. Okay. Okay, I saw somebody asking about the Premier project. Talking about the Premier projects, yeah. These are real life projects you'll be shared into several groups of, and it is evenly distributed. You have in the groups, you have data storytellers, the data engineers, MLOps, the DevOps, and also the data scientists in each group. So when we get to that time, you get more information about that. Okay. Any other question? Just drop it in the chat. If probably a noisy place, I'll read it out and answer. To reiterate again for webinars, there are some compulsory webinars you must attend, score attached to it, and attendance will be passed that you have to fill. If you miss a particular webinar and you got the others deliverables, you won't have certificates at the end. Okay, there's another question here. What is the study group? Do we need to join that? If yes, how to use that? Okay, on the platform, there are study groups here for each particular course. If you're on the platform, just for that particular study group that is available, you can click on it. Automatically, you're already part of the study group. It's just to share ideas. You can drop your questions. It's like a study group to share ideas within yourself. And mind you, You're not to share any info about the quiz or the project or help one another in doing that. If you're caught, you're removed from the internship. To buttress another important point, in the quiz or in projects or tag-along projects, copying of answers together or doing it together is highly prohibited. If the team grading it and you are caught that you copied from your friends or from your trackmate or whatever, you will be removed from the internship. So we don't condone any form of writing quiz together or submitting the same codes or whatever. And definitely you'll be caught and you'll be removed from the internship. It is very strict. That point is very, very strict. Okay, there's another question. Okay, I don't know if it's only me. I got tracked for only introduction to Python, but Kit is not there. I don't know if it's one after the other. Okay, to answer that, before stage A started, you were told to enroll for 2 prerequisite courses. Then this particular stage A course, which is Introduction to Python for Machine Learning, is the only one you'll be invited to. In each particular stage, you are not to enroll in any course. We would always send you invites to the course for that particular stage. So if you are, for example, moving on to stage B, you selected data science, you'll be invited to data science course. You will not be invited to a course of DevOps. So meaning you can't do 2, you can only do your particular track. So that's why you are seeing just that course. It is for stage A, and that's the only course you are doing. Then the 2 prerequisite course, which is the GitHub and Introduction to Python with Google Colab and Jupyter. So I guess I answered the question. It fell lower. And moving on, another question says, any idea on how many time one can spend per day in order to complete the stage? Okay, check your handbook. Asking this question means you haven't gone through the handbook. The handbooks, there are some frequently asked questions that are already answered there. If you go through the handbook, you read it carefully, you have answers to these your questions. So it's like, I'll put it personal. It depends on the time you can give to devote each particular stage. So you can do 20 hours per week or 25 hours per week if you can. So just find a way to balance everything if you're that busy, but normally you can do 20 to 25 hours per week if you want to succeed. And if you've noticed, this stage A is quite like, okay, to some people that are not beginners, the thing at stage A is kind of easy. So, but when you move on to stage B, it is very fast-paced internship. So you need to know how to organize your time, set your time frame, how you go about the courses, some concepts you don't understand on how to work through it and all that. So you have to know how to devote your time to it. So it's personal, but 20 to 5 hours weekly. So because moving on to other stages, it's going to be a fast-paced internship. You have the premier project, you have the capstone project and all that. So I guess that answers your question. Okay, another question says, from Abinadam. Okay, I've answered that question. If you want to know more about that, just go to your handbook. You get the answers to that question. Okay. A question for me says, for those with no system, can a smartphone with good internet connection be used for the program? On the onboarding session, somebody already asked this question and I answered. To move on smoothly, it's required you use a PC, your laptop, a system. You can't cope with a smartphone because during the projects, the premier project, capsule projects, you can't work with your smartphone. So the gospel truth is that you need a system and good internet network connection to be successful in the program. So I guess I answer your question. Although we can research on software you can use for smartphones, it's not advisable. You can't cope, you can't continue with that. So I guess that answers your question. From Fidel Victor. Okay. Any other questions, just drop it in the chat. And also to buttress, if you have any question whatever and that we cover in this particular session, The Slack channel is always there. The Ask Me team Slack channel, you can always drop your questions. You can always send us a mail if you're having issues with what's not. You'll be clarified on what to do. So that's about. And also your handbook is a good resource for you to go through if you might be having questions that are already answered. And also on the Slack channel, before asking a question, probably the question might have already been answered. It's good for you to always scroll up to previous messages and chats. Your question might have already been answered. And also on the announcement channel, always check the announcement channel for announcement or for key informations. It is paramount that as part of this internship, you should always log into the Slack channel every day for informations, for vital information, for communications with Harmony, because that is the primary channel of communication with Harmony, apart from the platform where you study the materials, do your quiz, and submit your tag along projects. So it is very, very important that you log on Slack every day. So I guess that answer that question. Any other question? Any other question? Okay. This is coming from Yusuf. He said, for each stage, how many people will be selected as the best? Only one. Okay. To answer your question, it's just for you to put in your best and try to do your quiz right and answer your write your codes for your projects. So every stage will publish the scoreboard and also the top tier intent. So, and in each stage, the winner for a particular stage is recognized by Harmony in that particular stage, and there are rewards you get for it. So to keep suspense, just try and do well for a particular stage. And if you're top tier interns for that particular stage, you would be recognized and rewarded. So that's to answer that. And also this question has already been answered in the handbook. Do well to always read the handbook thoroughly. It's not just there for play or whatnot. You have to go through the handbook. There are some frequently asked questions that have already been answered there. Go back and check it if you have not. And also the Slack channel, some information and some articles on how to take a quiz, how get your ID. And it's funny, some persons are asking for their ID because when you register with your ID. So I don't understand why you're saying you can't get your ID. Okay, I guess I answered that question for Yusuf. Any other question? Any other? Still have about 15 minutes for this session. Any other question, just shoot. Happy to answer. Pertaining to the course, this is your particular stage A course. The next action or the live coding session will be hands-on coding session explaining some of the concepts in this particular stage A. Probably some you don't understand, we'll do live coding session. That will be Mondays, on Monday or Friday. So whichever day it will be, the information will be passed on the Slack channel, the announcement channel. So you know on what to do and how to play time. Okay. There's another question from Jimon is asking, can the tag announcement for the quiz be submitted days after completing the quiz as long as it is within the deadline? No, because to answer that, because as you're done with your quiz, for you to answer the quiz, you have to be writing codes. Yeah, to answer some of the questions because the information already there, you know what to do. So for you to answer the quiz, as you're writing code, as you're done with your quiz, you submit, then you fill out the assessment form, submitting your different details and the link to your GitHub repository, because the timer is set. So we'll know if you're submitting days after. So it's advisable you submit when you submit your quiz, because we don't do any form of practice or cheating or colluding with each other. So it's best to avoid any form of hassles. As you're done with your quiz, you put your notebook in order, as upload your notebook to your GitHub repository and set it in order, and make sure it's a public repository, because if it's private, team grading will not be able to access it. So it's best to open a public repository and submit as you're done with your quiz. then submit the assessment and make sure you do everything before the deadline. So I guess I've answered the question. Okay, any other question? It says, can we add yes, of course, you can add the README to repo, whatever way you want to customize your repo, you are free to do that. Yeah, you can add the README. It must, if, for example, in your repository, you have different branches, the team in charge of grading can't be looking for your code in your different branches. Make sure you submit the link to your particular branch housing your code, not a separate branch or whatnot. So, yes, that answers that question. Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Okay. To reiterate also about the tag along codes. Okay, I've already said that before. You have to make sure it's a public repository. A public repository. Because if it's private or your codes are not found, you won't be graded for that particular stage. And it will affect you having your family certificate at the end of the internship. You have to complete all deliverables, which is your quiz, tag along projects, webinar attendance for the time we have webinars, the premier project, and the capstone projects. And also to reiterate, only those that selected that filled the track selection form will be moving on to the next stage. So if you have not filled it, check your email. We've already sent this information to your email. And for those that filled the first form when the stage started out, before stage started, we should also fill this recent form sent to your email. So even if you filled it before that, the previous form, you should fill this new form. It is important. Only those that selected a track will be moving on to the next stage. Only those that selected their tracks. So if you did not select and you missed the deadline, you'll be dropped off from the internship. So I have to reiterate this clearly. Even if you successfully completed your stage A and you did your tag along project, but you failed to fill in the track selection form, you won't be moving on to the next stage. Because I didn't feel that to be dropped off from the program. So that is very, very important. Okay, there's another question. Another question says, I have gone through the handbook and read curriculum for every track is ready to science. However, I have always been seeing companies requiring SQL skill as data scientists. Does it mean that the curriculum is enough for us to be equipped as a data scientist specifically? Okay, I've always, which is not in the curriculum. Okay, to answer your question, we've already answered this in onboarding webinar. The curriculum does not contain database management, so that's just that to answer the question. So that's that for your question. Yes, I've answered that correctly. The curriculum does not have database management, so that's for that. So any other question before we wrap it up for this session? And to reiterate, this session occurs Mondays and Fridays. I've said this before for those just joining. Mondays and Fridays, sometimes will be Ask Me session like this, and sometimes it will be live coding sessions. So whichever one we're having, it will always be communicated to you on the Slack channel. You get the proper information. And if anyone will answer or get right in this particular session, you can always drop your questions in the Slack channel. Would answer your question, and also send us an email for any issues you might be having at help. You already know the email handle, help@hamoye.io. All right, we have time for 2 more questions. If you have a question, drop it in the chat or we use the hand emoji and ask you to unmute. Just have for 2 more questions. Any other question relating to the course or the internship, to the program, your stages, your tracks? or deliverables, or what's not? Can I ask a question? Okay, there's another question. After selecting my track, I didn't get any message in my email as seen on the page. Okay, if you've successfully selected a track using the form sent, you're very sure that you've already gotten your response, so you don't have an issue. If you filled it completely using the form sent to your email. So that is that. We've already, okay, thank you for answering the question. And this question is from, okay, Feoluwa, yeah, I've answered it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there's another question. This is the last question. The question is, are all the learning materials just going to be text and PDF? Okay, I've answered, probably you're just joining, I've answered this question. Platform, the learning materials are just text and PDF. They are not video materials or video lessons. The lessons are just text materials and PDFs. But in each particular stage, occasionally we have coding sessions for a particular track. So that's also we have the Mondays and Fridays in every week. So occasionally we have either ask me sessions or live coding sessions. So those are the times we have the live coding session to explain some stuff you don't understand or some points in the courses. But on the platform, text materials and PDF, there are no video materials. Hold these ask me sessions and live coding sessions. So I've answered that before. That question is from Kumari. Yes, I've answered the question. Okay, one more question before we wrap it up for today. One more question. One more question. Okay, if there is no other question, okay. Okay, I guess, okay, there's no other question, but to reiterate, you have to always check your Slack channel, the primary place for information. Every day, log into the Slack channel for info. Always check the announcement channel, very important. The announcement channel is where we pass important and vital information. And also every other channel. If you have any question, always scroll up to see if someone have answered or asked the question before to see if you've already gotten an answer. But if not, you can still drop your question with answer. All right. Okay. I guess no more questions. That's all we can handle for today. That's all we can do. Like I said, any other question you have, Slack channel is free for you to drop a question. On relating to the courses of concepts you don't understand, before we hold these sessions, you can still draw your question, screenshot of what you don't understand. And mind you, we don't answer questions relating to the quiz. That's quiz questions. You won't get an answer, and it's forbidden to post that on the channel or whatever. And we strictly do not encourage malpractice or you doing your projects together. They are individual projects, not group projects. When the time comes for the premier project, that's the group project, but your quiz and your tag along projects is individually. You are not to do it with a group or whatever. If you are caught, you will be dropped from the program. So if you wrote the same code or whatever, and you did the same thing, and discover that you'll be dropped from the program. Okay, fine. To take the final question. So when do we have the next code-based discussion? You get that information on the Slack channel. Just keep an eye on that, you get it. So it might be a Monday or Friday, but you always get information. So it will be Monday when we have the live session and the Ask Me session. So it will be Monday and or Friday. So next week. So always check the announcement channel. You know when we'll have that. Okay, there's another question. Say, okay, I'll just take this last one. So can I repeat what I explained on SQL question? Okay, like I said, since you've already checked your handbook, you already know curriculum for each particular text. So there's no database management in the curriculum. So that's just to answer that particular question. You already know you know the curriculum for each particular track. So you know the one you want to select if you are going for data storytelling or DevOps or data science or data engineering / MLOps. So we won't be the one to choose for you. Just do your research and see the one that okay you want to do that is you are interested in and you do it. So that's to answer that question. Okay. Okay. In the absence of no further question, thank you very much for joining. Those joining, like I said, you have that questions, drop it in the Slack channel or send us an email. Would answer your question. And also always log into the Slack channel every day to not miss important messages. That is the primary place of communication with the AMA team and the interns. So that's the place to collaborate. You have to probably the courses you don't you can drop your question there and we would always answer. And also we encourage team collaboration in the course, not the quiz. The quiz is for individuals. If you are caught that common persons did that or submitted same tag and all projects, definitely because I will be dropped from program immediately. There are not two ways about it. It is very strict. The quiz and the tag along projects are individual projects. It is not meant to be done by a group or whatever. So if you have your group aside Slack or whatever, you're free to discuss terms that you don't understand in the course and all that. But you are not meant to discuss questions of the quiz or the tag along codes or whatever. If you are caught, you'll be dropped off from the intention. That's okay. I guess that's come to the end of today's session. Thank you very much, everyone, for those joining, whoever joining across the globe from Africa, South Africa, Middle East, and all. My name is Ajulo Christian. I'm the STEM Programs Coordinator and Data Scientist at Hamoye. I'm reaching for Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us in this session. And on that note, I say goodbye and have a wonderful weekend. See you next time. Bye.